Sukhoi Gar! Greetings, I am Tad Larkin, the lore master of Manda-LORE, and today I'll be digging through the archives to bring you technical readouts and the history of the Providence-class destroyer, Invisible Hand. The Invisible Hand was a heavily modified Providence-class carrier/destroyer that served as General Grievous's flagship during the Clone Wars. At a length of 1,088 meters, a width of 198 meters, and a height of 347 meters, the Invisible Hand was one beast of a vessel. 4 Nubian Kreveld 4 radial ion engines, one more than the standard Providence class, accelerated the Invisible Hand to sublight speeds of up to 2,000 kilometers per hour. She sported a Class 1.5 hyperdrive, giving the Invisible Hand an effective range of 40,000 light-years. The Invisible Hand's armament consisted of 14 turbo-laser turrets, 34 dual laser cannons, 2 ion cannons, 12-point defense ion cannons, and 102 proton torpedoes, significantly more than the standard Providence class. Crew requirements consisted of at least 600 live personnel to operate the vessel, with a support staff of up to 1.5 million deactivated battle droids. Invisible Hand's modified hangar bay could support a fighter complement of a whopping 120 droid starfighters and 120 vulture droid starfighters. Since she was at the forefront of many CIS operations during the war, the Invisible Hand also had plenty of cargo hold space to hold up to 280 ground vehicles for invasion forces, including but not limited to MTTs, AATs, Hailfire droids, OG-9 homing spider droids, and LM-432 crab droids. Towards her aft, the communications spire that would be present on a standard Providence-class carrier was refitted on the Invisible Hand to serve as a lofty observation deck for the Confederate leader, Count Dooku. Finally, hundreds of sensor arrays and communications antennas bristled the Invisible Hand's hull, keeping the Supreme Commander of the CIS military up to date on all strategic matters across the galaxy. Sometime before the Clone Wars, Providence-class carriers/destroyers began launching off dry docks orbiting Pamat, designed by the Quarren-owned Freedak Volunteer Engineering Corps for the Trade Federation. At the time, the Trade Federation became increasingly militaristic, and with his flagship, the Lucrehulk-class droid control ship Batum Pala, destroyed at the Battle of Naboo years earlier, Viceroy Newt Gunray chose the Invisible Hand as his own personal flagship. In 24 BBY, former Jedi Master and member of the infamous Lost 20, Count Dooku, founded the Confederacy of Independent Systems, and 2 years later, the Trade Federation joined up, signing over their military forces to the CIS. Reluctantly, Gunray gave up the Invisible Hand at the request of the new Supreme Commander of the CIS military, a Kaleesh cyborg named General Grievous, who then made extensive modifications to the warship, including an expanded hangar bay and a 4th primary drive engine. Grievous took a back seat to the Chiss General Severance Tan for the first few months of the war, but after her untimely death at the Battle of Krant, Grievous finally got his chance to reveal himself to the Republic at the Battle of Hypori. In 20 BBY, during the second year of the Clone Wars, General Grievous launched his most infamous offensive, Operation Dirge's Lance, and the Invisible Hand was at the spearhead of this unstoppable force as it carved into the core worlds up the Carillion trade spine, wreaking havoc in the heart of the Republic. The Invisible Hand made a name for herself during Grievous's textbook victory at the Battle of Duro. Subsequently, at the Battle of Humbrain, her and the rest of the CIS 3rd Fleet orbitally bombarded the planet into molten slag, rendering Humbrain uninhabitable. In the Wemel sector, the Invisible Hand released a ravenous disease, Lordovian Brain Plague, killing the entire human population as well as clone garrisons in the sector. By the end of the second year of the conflict, the name Invisible Hand instilled fear in the hearts of millions of Republic citizens, and Grievous utilized this newfound infamy using her sister ships as decoys. The Providence-class destroyers Lucid Voice and Colicoid Swarm were often paraded in front of CIS fleets, masquerading as the Invisible Hand, which resulted in numerous Republic worlds surrendering without contest to what they believed was the dreaded Invisible Hand. 19 years before the Battle of Yavin, at the behest of the Sith Lord Darth Sidious, General Grievous launched a massive surprise attack on the Republic capital of Coruscant. The entire battle was a diversion for Grievous to ambush and kidnap Supreme Chancellor Palpatine, where his captivity would be broadcast live on the HoloNet by Count Dooku on board Invisible Hand's observation deck. Grievous successfully captured Palpatine and retreated back to the Invisible Hand in orbit. Meanwhile, Generals Obi-Wan Kenobi and Anakin Skywalker, along with the entire Open Circle fleet, fresh from their Outer Rim conquests on Nelvon and Tyth, entered the Coruscant system and engaged Grievous's fleet. Kenobi and Skywalker flew their Eta II Jedi starfighters through swarms of enemy vulture droids, and after evading turbo laser fire, the duo managed to land their fighters into Invisible Hand's hangar bay in a daring attempt to rescue the captured Chancellor. Fighting their way to the observation spire, then eventually dueling and defeating Count Dooku, Skywalker and Kenobi successfully retrieved the Chancellor, but were they themselves captured while attempting to flee. Meanwhile, the Invisible Hand got caught in an all-out broadside with the Venator-class Star Destroyer Lara momentarily disabling the ship. However, the Invisible Hand was eventually righted, though it was unsure for how long she could hold. After being brought to the Invisible Hand's bridge, a scuffle broke out between the two Jedi and Grievous's Magna Guards, destroying part of the bridge as well as compromising the ship's integrity. Invisible Hand once again began to list, and as she plummeted towards the planet, the remaining crew, including Grievous, launched the last escape pods, leaving Kenobi, Skywalker, Chancellor Palpatine, and R2-D2 the last aboard the crashing vessel. Being the ever-resourceful pilot that he was, Anakin took the helm, and attempted to guide the now fireball-engulfed ship into a safe landing, all drag fins and flaps extended. Internal explosions caused the Invisible Hand to split in two, accelerating their descent, and as fire ships flanked the vessel dousing the flames, the Jedi managed to bring what was left of the Invisible Hand down safely onto an abandoned airfield.
Another happy landing.
The merciless battlefield career of this icon of CIS military might had been finally brought to an end over Coruscant, and with mere weeks left until the war's eventual end, so too had Grievous's stranglehold of terror over the Republic. Throughout her years of service, the Invisible Hand downed over a dozen Venator-class Star Destroyers and a hundred other smaller and mid-sized Republic vessels. This transmission was suggested by Evan Smith. If you have any suggestions for future transmissions, don't be afraid to drop a comment. In the meantime, keep your comm channels open for future transmissions, and don't forget to subscribe. Tad Larkin, out.